Alright, this is for Casper Hansen. That's his critique on his uh, painting here. So there's a couple things that I'm going to show you first off that I find wrong with the anatomy. Okay, so you're doing basically a bird's eye to a worm's eye view. The problem, there's a couple things that I would change, first of all. First, the way you're grabbing the arrow. Um, the way you're grabbing the arrow right now is you're actually reaching up and backwards with your hand and then actually out. The problem with that is when an archer reaches back, the palm, so the palm will be like this. All right, and I know it's a real rough, crude drawing, but the palm is actually going to be out because when you reach back, it's more natural to reach back, grab the arrow. Okay, that being said, you also want to pay attention to your perspective. The problem you have is you're trying to do the idea of, how do I want to put this? You're trying to do the idea that this character is a archer and it's running towards me, towards the camera, and you're also looking at it from a bird's eye. So there's a lot of issues with the perspective that you want to change. First of all, this knee being closer to the camera is going to get bigger, like so. And then more overlap in there to get that going on. The second thing is, as you start getting towards the upper body, if you want that bird's eye view, I mean, right now her hips are really wide, which is okay, but as you start getting that bird's eye, the bird's eye view, you're basically going to need to like shrink her a little bit more, if that makes sense. So it's really how you want to portray this. I mean, do you want the perspective where the character is kind of like this, or do you want to keep it straight on? Because that's going to change the way your whole scene looks. Um, so you really want to pay attention to that. The other thing is, I'm just going to erase this. The other thing is, if you're doing it the way it stands now, which is fine, you want to, you've got a really long torso, and that's okay for a proportional length, but you want to bring the curves up more, and because the female, the male waist basically comes down and then straight. The female waist actually goes to the rib cage, and then a lot of females, depending on how built they are, they have a more diagonal, and then it flares out. But it flares out at the top of the hips, not down here. So you want to bring the hips up a little bit more, and that's going to be kind of in line with the belly button. So that's one thing that I would take care of. The other thing is the way you've got the torso kind of comes up and it doesn't feel like it's connecting to the arm. So I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to raise this, but the problem you're having is if I draw my shoulder or collarbones like so, this is actually going to bend forward. So it's actually going to show me more. And if you're moving it forward, you want to get more overlap in there. You know, something like that. And I think that's going to, be better for what angle you've got. It's okay the way it is, but it just, your shoulder here feels very odd. Um, Especially because what you're trying to do is you're trying to raise up this here, and you've got a real thin neck and you want to bring that out. I would just say to solve all this is get the fixes in there, is just take some photo reference. Even of yourself, you can still kind of see what I'm talking about when you're doing this. The next thing I would say is off the hand is if you're running, um, the issue that I see right off the bat is if you're running, Um, your hair's actually flowing down when in all reality it should be flowing backwards, um, in the direction you're running. The dress is flowing around the character, and it's not actually logistically correct. It just feels like it's kind of painted over that character. So what I would say is it's going to lie flat because you're actually running, so it's going to be flattened out here, and then like that, but it's also going to trail backward. So you need to get that motion in there. The next thing I'm going to say is, um, I think your bow looks pretty decent. It's got a good start, but you've got the issue that I see is you've got essentially too many bright points, and what I mean by that is this is a bright point. I'm going to look here. This is a bright point. I'm going to look here, and then this, because it's in black, I'm going to look at that right there. And so what you want to do is create a better focus. What do you want the character to look at? And so that by doing that, by saying this is what I want the character to focus on, what you need to do is, if you want the character to focus on the face, then you need to go into the face and almost lighten that up a little bit. Get a good light source going on, because right now your light source is from all over the place. And I get you're trying to show reflection from the ground, but the issue you have is you've got too much going on as far as light sources. Um, you've even got a light source in the middle of her legs, and doesn't look right. So that's something that you really want to kind of focus on and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And there's ways, again, to do this. Um, One of the simple ways would be to actually put on, just get some cardboard and put it on the ground and put some aluminum foil over it. And then when you take your shot, the flash will bounce off the aluminum foil and bounce up onto your photo reference. Um, The other thing is the way the characters' pauldrons are set on the character. I look at it and it feels like they're riding up. I mean, they're up here, and with this one it's not bad, but over here I think this one should be more over like this. Also, pauldrons move, so you want to actually make the pauldrons turn and rotate according to where they're going. Um, they're usually strapped on with some sort of leather object to hold it down. So that's another thing that you want to pay attention to. Pay attention to the way your cylinders go too. And I'm looking at this right here. Right now, you've just got, that's what's making it horizontal. But if I'm looking up at it, I want to actually have more of curve on there. Same thing with this. I would have more curve, and I'd see more of the back where I'd see this would overlap more. So things like that need to be changed. And then if you want to get more detailed, start thinking about stitching and seams. So, you could put stitches here, and then how is this attached? Does it have buttons? Is it bands? Is it, the details are what really sell the piece. Um, and then these are the boots are going to come out a little bit. They're going to flare out, maybe come up and put a little shadow in there, depending on your light source and things like that. And then this here, this anatomy on this leg really looks awkward because you've got the knee, and then this leg is going to be huge. I mean, obnoxiously long, apparent, according to your scenery, or according to the rest of your anatomy and the way the shape is going. Whereas instead, it would start curving inward like that much sooner. And by doing that, you're going to give a much more proportions. So what I would say right off the bat, pay attention to proportions, pay attention to the anatomy, get either a pose figure or a reference, and that's going to help you quite a bit. All right, I hope that helps.